I am gonna make part number 4 out of this here, and I do want to give precise information about what went on. He's accused of treason, but never was charged with a treason. This guy never served any sentence. You better believe it. Russians have stolen Donetsk, Crimea, and got paid for. A president who replaced this guy here. His name is Yanukovych. He gave the Russia Donetsk, Crimea. The one who replaced him was a Poroshenko. He actually paid Putin for the theft. Couldn't do anything militarily about it, but literally paid them, awarded them. Accused, never tried, never imprisoned. This man exists today at the top of the Ukrainian political hierarchy with Zelensky. This was directly a mentor of Volodymyr Zelensky. Poroshenko was the one. America bet enormously on Poroshenko during MK Ultra, but Poroshenko was a violent individual, for which reason I have no reason really to advocate one. I don't have any reason, anything that would tie me to this individual. He had a good and bad, and this was required from everybody involved in MK Ultra. He had good and bad, except that nothing really prevailed in my case. So I don't think for me he ever was any good. He might be even good for America, I don't know. Maybe he might be even good for Ukraine. I don't know. The point is, I don't care anymore. I cared about Ukraine until this point here. Now this is not my business anymore. Here is explained everything why. What I will add to this video is individual who arranged this issues, the issues that you watch right there. He stepped out of U.S. Justice Department of State as a head of the U.S. Justice Department of State. His name is Merrick Garland. This was the man who arranged this stuff. The stuff that he was like a ranger for this stuff. He more than just saw this. This was the man who guaranteed me death. This was the guy who guaranteed me death. I wouldn't take one seriously. This was just a government. Merrick Garland was just a U.S. government official who was doing exactly whatever he was told to do by others. Donald Trump was an individual who enforced pro-Russian stand together with the Russians through the use of extreme physical violence. Whenever I was hijacked from United States of America to Slovenia, I would mostly have to do with the Russian violence. Before the 1995, upon my departure to United States, and after departure to United States of America. Nurse Yanko, Milan Kuchan, Robert Golob, these are exactly the people that surface on the picture. This is the way you do it. When you accuse somebody of the mental illness, you're going to have exactly the actors that are being used all along. Government will have them surface on the picture. That's right. Everything I stated in the blog is exactly the way it was. And this violence of Milan Kuchan, which was directly tied to Vladimir Putin, went on in our house since the beginning of the time all the way to 1998. In 1998, I suggested that they were asking me, Americans were suggesting me that I have nobody to go to, nobody to look for. The one who ran this physical violence, torture, was Vladimir Putin personally. Vladimir Putin has extensive background in the physical torture. This is an officer, this KGB officer is directly tied to the techniques and enforcement of the physical torture of the prisoners. Now, this was done in Slovenia, which is about, I think, 2,000 kilometers away from Russian border. Nowhere even near Russia. It became independent in 91. But this is the stuff that went on, continued to roll on with assistance of Americans and what became Ukrainians. The main extension tool to Slovenia were none other than Ukrainians, of which head of this new torture, physical torture unit became Volodymyr Zelensky. Vladimir Zelensky also has extensive background in the physical torture. He might say, no, I don't have one. I'm a comedian from Ukraine. He might say this, but I'm going to say based on my own example, I know that this man has extensive background in the physical torture activities. Even if he did not torture other people, he did torture me. And it was his words to me. He stated that he doesn't have any background in the physical torture other than the one pertaining to my case. So this man definitely knows what physical torture is. He was the one, after I declared myself as pro-Ukrainian, because they asked me, you're all by yourself, rejected from entire world and so on. I was the one who told them, no, I'm not, and you work for the Russian side. There is this other side, I told them, it's called Ukrainian, so I don't have nothing to do with your Russo-American torture. And so you know what happened? Zelensky came on a picture in 98 and took off from wherever Putin was doing till 98 directly. Started to engage in a physical torture. The first time I arrived to the United States with a Zelensky who hated the United States of America to death. Zelensky demanded from me to see myself in Russia at whatever costs. He was involved already before. He was observer of the physical torture performed by Putin. He was a very good friend of Vladimir Putin, Zelensky. A very good friend. Since 2002, it became evident Zelensky didn't even want to see United States of America. He fucking hated United States of America. This is the biggest hater of United States of America in entire Ukraine. Upon the visit to United States of America, during which I was humiliated inside of the White House. Humiliated, just as I described here in the video. About this picture here. Inside of United States of America, there was another lady when he visited United States of America in 2002. Now that lady was much older and probably, well, she was blonde, this lady. I liked her. She was sexually appealing, I think. It was George W. Bush who granted the permission, the entrance to the White House. Merrick Garland was president at that time. He was taking all the necessary arrangement, all the necessary details about the incident itself. And it was the lady that you see right there, much younger lady, that took off from where the older lady left. I don't know when this happened, but the lady that you see right there started to appear at the White House at around she always was at the White House, except that this was a younger girl. Yeah, she remained at the White House. She just turned into this girl, posing right there next to Zelensky, to remind me of what I stated in the video. She always was inside of the White House. I remember she got married supposedly she got married, I don't even know, man, it was like 2002 or something like that. This was the girl who once even flirted with me. Volodymyr Zelensky hated the United States of America until 2002 when he saw what was done to me. This is a like-minded, this is a soulmate of the Nurse Yanko. And Nurse Yanko is a soulmate of Robert Golub, of Milan Kuchan. These are soulmates. When he saw the prospect of what could be done through United States of America, in United States of America, in front of his eyes, he had fallen in love with United States of America, talking about Zelensky. I'm going to come back to this lady because due to her involvement in MKUltra, I should be capable to even identify her. This one flirted with me at large, and I don't know what happened. I think she got married about in 2002. By 2002, I was certain that when we were, once I was at the White House, I was shocked. I was in shock. I was in disbelief. I was asking everybody if they're not going to grab him, retaliate for my sake to Zelensky when he arrived to the United States of America. They were laughing in my face. George Bush even insisted that I have done something. What have you done? And so on. This is the way it was, exactly in 2002. Zelensky continued to visit all the way to 2005. They rehearsed this stuff. Continued to remind me of it. But George Bush W. was an extremely good friend with Vladimir Putin. This is a very, very, very strong friend of the Vladimir Putin. The two were extremely great friends. The two were very powerful friends with the Vladimir Putin. I was the one who was tortured by George W. Bush, who flirted with me. And me being, I had to believe in something, in someone that was on my side. Even if it was a Satan, Lucifer, to put it plain and simple. I didn't have anyone I could go to. You people don't understand what the Russian corruption looks like. But from my case, you can understand it's no place you can hide yourself. And from the politics you see in respect to India and China, you can attest to that. American government, US government, United States of America might not be a police officer of the world. All through this is the role, United States of America in charge itself beginning the 2002, for those of you that remember the term, George W. Bush's term came out to existence. United States of America, a police officer of the world, 2002, 2003, whatever. Police officer of the world. This is how the whole world, with India and China confirming this. And that's what I said. This is what the Russian corruption looked like. And when you work for the Russia, with the Russia in respect to certain issues, Russians don't mind to hide themselves behind United States of America. They will agree to that. This term today does no longer even exist. If you look at this term, America, world police officer and so on, nobody knows about it. But in 2003, this terminology, this term was extremely present everywhere, including and especially in Slovenia, where they pointed me. America is a police officer of the world. It's a police officer of the world. This is a video I thought it would be extremely important to break down who Zelensky is, what Zelensky is. Yes, I was humiliated even more in 2002 with the George W. Bush, supposedly whom they rated was my president. I told you about my being a child, a baby, when I was delivered to Texas, to George W. father. I told you about the ranch thieves, people who were stealing ranches throughout the Texas. With the Josip Broz Tito, how they used me for the ranch thefts through the government, through the U.S. government, how they were stealing the ranches. I did talk to you about that stuff, how it all started, and how supposedly I would even become a rancher in Texas, but I didn't like the ranch and I was labeled as mentally ill by the Bush family and so on. I gave the whole thing about the George Bush family since I was a baby. I gave the complete breakdown on how people were losing the ranches. It's what obviously my prospect was to become one day, even if I was to become a rancher, and how the rancher has stolen from the people. This is so turn around these ranches. Some do stay in the family for a very long time, others however are gone, stolen, and the money is turned on a table, the next one comes and so on. I've seen the stuff that you people don't believe is possible. I've seen people changing their ownership, not people changing their ownership, but I've seen government changing ownership of the ranches and just kicking out people on the street, making them disappear literally from the ranch since they couldn't pay taxes and so on. They couldn't catch up with it, and completely nobody coming and buying the ranch and dividing the ranch on half, having one sold to some, having one sold to the other. And this is literally people that were involved who would do this stuff, and the new buyers that would come and take the ranch from within and so on and so forth. I've seen so much scam. This shit, MK Ultra, this is all about the scam, don't you know? This is all about the theft, about the stealing. That's what this is all about. Maybe the world is not so rotten, but where I was at, where I'm coming from, this is the most rotten part of the world. Maybe the world is not so rotten, but where I'm coming from is really rotten. I've seen it all. They were using me to deprive people of the ranches. They were using me. Yesterday the news came out about the Belgian factory, Audi factory foreclosure. it will cease to exist. They discussed one with Ursula von der Leyen, closure of the company already in 2015. The same thing as was the case with the Vauxhall in London. Luton, that is about to close down in Luton, Vauxhall. I was there when they changed production from personal cars to vans. Instead of closing the factory already for the third time, they changed it to vans. Those are the two factories when I was physically tortured. In the Belgian factory, not so much. But in a Luton factory, I was tortured like an animal since I was a child. And it wasn't only Luton factory, but it was other factories that ceased to exist. They closed factories throughout the UK. And British were using me. To collect evidence from the foreign workers for a physical torture, whom they have conditioned, not the foreign workers, but entire company, would cease to exist if they would not get involved in one. And then when the factory was closing, I was used as the one who demanded for factory to be closed down. British royals were using me for divorces. I was everything, and fortune and misfortune, and for everything I had to pay with a physical violence. Audi factory in Brussels was just used by the Belgian royals as a form of solidarity for what's coming next in Luton in April, when the foreclosure of this company Vauxhall in Luton is about to take place, to remind me that they also tortured me in Belgium, all through nowhere near, even near anything like that, as it was in Britain. Belgium also was extremely violent. So this is the way they do it, this is the way they go, and they believe that with this kind of stuff they're going to revive stuff they were doing, basically affect my mental state, which they were creating during MK Ultra, based on pure torture. So if this is a direction for humanity that you want to take like this man could be everything, just as I stated earlier. This could be a pro-Ukrainian individual, and this also could be a very, very Russian individual. I'm not going to cast my vote. Not for this individual who still was not charged with a treason, and I'm not going to cast my vote for who this individual here is, because I don't need to. I really don't need to. This is not my job. One has to ask himself or herself, why is this guy on the picture? Therefore, why is he on the picture? Therefore, why? Obviously, Americans were deciding about who's going to be on the picture and who's not going to be on the picture. But on the other hand, Ukrainians should not be deciding about how your world should be. Ukraine is not worth your being in a psychiatric bubble, ran by police, hijacking, trafficking people in a broad daylight, subjecting them to torture, killing, waste of their lives for some shabby elites. And it's exactly what's going on. There are two parts of Ukraine. One is obviously against the existence of Ukraine, and then there is that other part who want Ukraine, who want the sovereignty, who want the Ukrainian state, and that's a majority of Ukrainian people. But they aren't doing anything about it. They haven't done anything about it, other than comply with Zelensky. And when I say other than comply with Zelensky, Zelensky had nurses over there at home for elderly people. He had people here inside of my village. And he had people on the other side of the Kirka River. He had people in Lodz in Poland all over the place. And I'm not going to say only nothing came out of these people. Many of these people insisted I was guilty for Ukrainian misfortune, that I created one. Many of these people insisted. Many of these people insisted that many of these people aligned themselves even with the Russians. And many of these people did not align themselves with the Russians. They claimed the opposite. But the bottom line is, Zelensky stated, he will have the people around me, but those people never come anywhere close to me, etc., etc. Well, that's precisely what's going on. And for that matter, I also don't have to see myself in Ukraine. For that matter, I don't also have to view myself as either pro-Russian or pro-Ukrainian. The stuff that happened, that took place against me because of Ukrainian existence. That's why this stuff took place. And the Russians, as I stated earlier, this is how they came here to Slovenia, through Ukrainians. They were Ukrainian extension to Slovenia. And so if that's all they can do, talking about Ukrainians, is engage in psychiatry, and it doesn't matter whether that be with or on behalf of United States of America, then I say fuck you. Fuck you and your Ukraine. World should not succumb to its knees because somebody wants to go back to the Soviet Union, or because somebody wants to turn the world into the psychiatric hospital for everybody, into a hellhole. Elites are not right in this case. Not a British, not Americans, not any one of these Western elites. You failed to prove the point here in this case. It's not necessary to be correct, to be right about it, to take the Russian or Ukrainian side, you know. It's enough to take my own side in my case. You're not police officer of the world. You're shit. You're nobody, actually. You are exactly as I explained in this video. And the question is, why the world should comply with you? This is really, honestly, a question. With you or with the Russia, you got the answer about this stuff. And no, this is not about Donald Trump. This is about the collective American conscience. This isn't about Donald Trump. This is about the collective American conscience, about the same thing I have seen this morning. I saw this guy talking about united Ukraine. It is supposed to be people in Ukraine who turn against Zelensky. And this was the guy, Poroshenko was the guy who calls upon Ukrainian union, and etc., etc., etc. This guy didn't do anything for Ukraine. That's one thing. So instead of being charged with crime, he is on the top of the hierarchy, still surrounded with the camera. He didn't pay for what he did, meaning that if you're a politician, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Because not only you always get the second chance, but really you won't be charged. This is a strange message the world is getting. This is a very, very, very funny business. The world is heading for the worst. For the worst. During Joe Biden, presidential immunity surfaced out. Meaning that the presidents, just like a royal elites in Britain, can do anything as pleased. There is no law and there is no constitution that applies to them, is what they try to insist me, not only during MK Ultra, but during Biden presidency. It came out as if the laws and constitution don't apply to them, even if they violate most severely violate and engage directly in torture and killing of their own citizens. Such is my case. Such is my case. This is a very, very funny business with this Ukrainian people, with this Ukraine. There's are really people in between that, for those that care about the World War II outcome, they should not allow their countries to turn into this. If you're going to allow for the world to be taken over with this degree of corruption, criminality, then you don't have much to look forward to. Then it's going to be like a chessboard. For every move you're going to make, they're going to have moves prepared. This is what my life was. To take you out on every step of the way. And this is a road to the neo-Nazism, really. To the categorization. Classic neo-Nazi garbage. Classic. Classification, categorization, standardization. Think about what the world was like 80 years ago, what went on. It's not necessary that you have to go and agree with what you see today. This is not reality, but it will become reality. It will become reality over the course of the time if you people will continue to allow this shit to go on. You, the people, not the mainstream media. And I'm talking to myself, I know, when it comes to United States of America, democracy and all this. I know I'm talking to myself because, hey, it's so eaten, it's so rotten. This criminality, corruption went through all the pores of life so badly that it's unheard of, unbelievable. I understand that. Still, there is countries that freedom is dear to people and probably don't want to be this way. You probably don't want to have it this way. You are the people that you should probably make change. Ask yourself whether this is the way you want your country to be run by the people for whom you don't even know who they work for. Degree of corruption and criminality, organized crime. I think because this girl that you see right there was a visitor to our house, and I wanted her for myself really badly, that she got married when she was about 30 years of age, 29. She told me down by the Kirka River on our parcel. Sometimes, this is the question really for when that would be. But I think it was. Sometimes in 99, I think that she told me and presented me her husband. A blonde guy is the husband, American, white blonde guy. I think she's a lawyer. She might be a lawyer or something like that. I don't know what she have a university degree in, but I think she's a lawyer. I think she's attorney by profession. I think she's they find her a nice husband, a good husband. She does have a children based on MK Ultra. She should have, unless she lied. And as the lady, a blonde lady, there was a blonde lady that was gone off the picture. They placed her in the picture so that I could recall who this guy is. I am not taking a personal disregard over Ukraine because of a certain individual, something like that, but because of direction which Ukrainian state took, because of direction in which Ukrainian state is moving, because of an individual that you see right there who demanded from me to acknowledge. It has too much to do, for one, not to be disclosed about his involvement, his share of involvement in MK Ultra. You know, look, he is turning his back on me and stuff like that. They really brainwashed on these issues during MK Ultra, and they really wanted me to see them as significant and so on. It's like you would go and you would shit somebody in the face. Basically, that's what he is doing right there in that picture. And you can do this stuff through MK Ultra. You can do this to the people. That's why it's so meaningful to the politicians. That's why MK Ultra is so meaningful to police. Because people go on a rampage, shooting, killing. Every fucking day they get volunteers to do that kind of stuff. Every fucking day. Except that I think that this type of freedom, this type of liberty, this type of people that want world to look like this, I think they might be really better off under the guidance, under the ownership of somebody else, because it's not going to make any difference anyway, will it? I say, oh, it will. No, I don't think it will make any difference. The people who know what they want are the people that don't even allow things to go this far. You can condition them. You can condition them with whatever. They will not allow this to go on. Because to have the state means to have the freedom. To have the freedom, that means to see yourself as a human being. That's why I told you the political party Stranka ljudskih prava, the political party of the human laws, is the political party that assures there are no Russians and no Serbs inside of the country. If you have a Russians and you have a Serbs inside of the country, you do have a terrorism. You have a terrorist inside of the country, which is, by the way, empowered from the outside financially to thrive and grows enemy from within the country, or empowers the enemy from within for systematic takedown of the country. You cannot have a Russian and you cannot have a Serb inside of the country for your country to really exist. Unless it's a country that is totally non-related to the Russians and to the Serbs and can easily place them at whatever they needs to be placed once they start making trouble. And he's using this type of relationship to suck minerals, oil, etc., etc., etc. That's a different story. And this is what we can see 3 million Russians in Germany, and we can see millions of Russians now in the United States of America, don't we? I already started to police American society and German society. Ukrainians were the main extension of the Russians that made it all the way to Slovenia. They, however, will never make it past the entrance to this house. As long as I am, they will not. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who Zelensky is. If Zelensky is, in a parenthesis, working for Ukraine, or is working for the liberation of Ukraine or wherever he's working for. I did not deserve this. I did not deserve this. I did not deserve any of this. I didn't deserve this. And I'm not the one who wants the share in Ukraine. I am not interested in Ukraine. What I did for Ukraine was out of pure solidarity with the people in Ukraine, so they can have their country, as I explained a little earlier, based on stranka ljudskih prava, political party of the human laws. Not rights, but laws. So they can have the country where they can say it's a country, it's our country. Where they can be considered, see themselves like a human beings. Have something else to worry about other than Russian, Serbian terrorists inside of the country. Have time to concentrate instead on business, prosperity, family, things that matter. Not their neighbors, not the people in Kiev. Not about the bombs that fly over their roofs. About the day when their uncles, sons' fathers are going to be sent into the ditches to die. For the dear homeland that does not even exist. I put it this way, I put it for what it is. I don't want to go around the corners, because going around the corners created this stuff. Donald Trump might not even be on the picture anymore. He did talk about the China, etc., etc. But his language about $350 billion, which makes no sense whatsoever, suggests a departure, a very, very soon departure from White House. He will be replaced by the Kamala Harris most likely. And Kamala Harris is a fucking disaster. Based on MK Ultra, they already even instigated on return of Kamala, etc., etc. It was like this. In this administration of Donald Trump, Trump would not be replaced by Kamala Harris, but a stupidity is stuff that what he was bubbling together with the Zelensky. It's also, this interview would not exist without this stuff. Suggest the two, both of them, even Zelensky wanted this to be seen as. He made me feel like that he would use this stuff to disappear off the picture, as a self-removal. Even this was the stuff that existed. They even exploited this stuff, that Zelensky, I don't understand why Zelensky was so obsessed with this stuff. But it appeared to me when I go to MK Ultra time, when they had me at the White House, why they wanted this, why they rehearsed this stuff so much. That he was using this stuff to disappear of the picture himself, remove himself of the picture. Dude, I didn't ask for any of this. I wouldn't even care about any of this. Do you understand me? Any of what I stated earlier about his direct physical torture involvement. I wouldn't even care about that one. If it wasn't for attempt to undermine me. Attempt to suggest that I'm mentally ill. Attempt to suggest that something is wrong with me. Playing a psychiatrist in front of me. Playing a violent thug, a psychiatric thug. Making yourself look big, like Stalin used to. Like Putin does. You look at this stuff I'm talking about, you're going to see there is no difference in my eyes between Zelensky, Donald Trump, Putin, Stalin. This is exactly the same type of attitude. There's an attitude, what can you do to us as a single one, against our reporters, against our White House staff, against our police, against all this stuff. If we say you're mentally ill, you're mentally ill. It's your word against word of so many people. I wouldn't be paying attention to this stuff if it wasn't for this type of bullying. But hell, I am going to pay attention to this stuff. Supporting the country like this not only makes me, but it makes me look mentally ill. This girl was probably 29 years old when she got married with an American, even semi-blonde guy, blue eyes. They have probably 2 children, I would say, grown-ups already by now. This is what this is. She was coming here and she was visiting here very often, so there you have it. I'm going to give you MK Ultra proof. We're going to do it this way. We can do it that way. So, we all know who Fred Fritzl was. We all know about that stuff. We have to go over that one. Not Fred Fritzl, but Fred Trump. What about this guy here, who this guy was? I got a little to worry about for what Donald Trump have to say about my black record or whatever record. It's none of his business. It's none of his business. This is just about steering a racial shit and also pulling the stuff that could be easily misinterpreted as a support for the Russia or the reason why the Russia should be supported and so on. Well, the fact of the matter is that with this type of politic, it doesn't even matter whether Ukraine is or is not part of the Russia. You sure don't want to have in your company people like this. You sure don't want to see yourself in a company of the people like this, because if you will, you too, sooner than not, will have a problem. I don't owe anybody anything. Ukraine owes me a lot. Ukraine owes me a lot. If they really owe themselves a freedom, then they owe me a whole lot. A whole lot. I'm not going to be the one who's going to duck down in front of the presidents like this. I'm not going to be the one who's going to put the head down in front of psychiatry like this. I will not be the one who's going to live in self-denial. I officially disclosed. It was a February the 2nd. Or February the 1st, I'm not sure. War in the United States of America. War on self-denial, which was enforced by police, by psychiatrists. In compliance, complete in compliance with extermination procedure for what you have seen have done at a police station on October the 30th, 2024 in Novo Mesto. Trust me, you have seen nothing compared to what I am capable to do today if we were to meet again. Today we play under the completely different rules, completely different regulations in respect to this extermination procedure. Today you do the stuff in front of me, I'll ask you. I'll tell you who you are. why you do this stuff. If I feel you're trying to be smart with me. And October the 30th, 2024 was not disappointing at all. I'm not the one who live in a self-denial. You are the one. You are many. You have these beautiful cameras and microphones. And you're dressed up so nicely. Yes, you're dressed up so nicely. But that doesn't matter. I am not the one. And that means you're the one in self-denial. I never will be again. You want to give a lesson to somebody about what you can do or what you cannot do and this and that and so on and so forth? Fuck you. You're going to have to find somebody else. In this life, me, myself, you're never going to do it again. You never will do it again. Well, past this stuff. Yeah, I explained everything about in which situation is going to be. The most likely, Donald Trump is going to step down. Donald Trump, as he claimed, is going to devote himself to China, to Asia problems. Europe is big enough to defend itself against Russia. That stuff will most likely not even last, according to him. In 2019 or 2020, he told me that in 2018 it was determined that he will have to depart anyways. This is the way it is with this White House and with this Ukrainian President Zelensky. It was suggested to me the only one that's going to try to save you is going to be Zelensky and so on and so forth. Ha ha. Listen, do you know who saved me? I saved myself with the will of God. That's all there is to it. This was the case that went on for no less than 48 years. And you must be drunk if you think, even if you're Central Intelligence Agency, FBI, do you know how big you are compared to me? You're fucking zeros. I am a supercomputer. I am a supercomputer. Not only you penetrated through me, but do you know what it means to be drugged up 10 years to 12 years, 24/7, being subjected to MK Ultra procedure, seeing people, meeting people, going through stuff? Do you know what the fuck you are going against? You're going against exactly what is written on my website. You have no chance. You are ants. From that point of view, from the intelligence point of view, you're too small to compare to me. And you're Sia. You have all this data and computers and photos and videos and documented with audio and everything sorted out. And you're so fucking small. And I tell you so. I didn't build this case on 1 day or 1 year or 6 months or 2 years or whatever. This shit went on for 48 years. 48, and you were capable to see. I was capable to demonstrate you the memories. When I was a few months of age in Belgrade, about the game Josip Broz Tito played with an Indian, South American, I don't know if the Chinese were there too, African presidents, politicians, Russians, Eastern Europeans, a game in which you had two children sit on the floor looking one another to see which one is going to attack the other child first. Do something to the other child. So the other child that would not react was the one who was the winner. Few months of age, I was all in diapers when they would do this stuff, and I told you this stuff. So you think you have what exactly in this case? Yeah, you can continue to see nothing, hear nothing, know nothing, but you also are nothing really. You should be nothing. For those that care how it all ended 80 years ago, should also care about this case. I'm a single man, a single individual. But what an individual. 48 years you were dancing around me. 48 years. 48 years I had you dance around me. The stuff you were able to see on my blog, this is a human, you can say whichever way you want. Just one against a whole lot of administrative, all kinds of shit that you see in the world, the presidents, prime ministers, politicians, and so on. Just one against the really big corruption. The biggest corruption, like I have stated, are the people with the cameras, with the key people with the microphones, people with, the so-called free media. You are the biggest problem because you are so corrupt. Just look what you have done with this interview. How you have divided the world, how the world started to cast for the sake of your elites, for the sake of your owners, rather than to go to reality about this stuff. Consider one. Just look what the fuck you have done to the world. Look at the comments under your blogs, under your videos. Look what you have done to the world just by doing this stuff. It really is unnecessary. It truly is unnecessary. Do you think the world is going to be any better if the world is going to be split? Not on half, but literally into shreds, into bits, so that your owners can regulate one with a psychiatry as sin was done to me. Do you think the world is going to be any better? All right. Maybe you do. I don't.